Good morning. Today is December 8th, 2025. I hope you're having a great holiday season. I'm going to do a year-end real estate market update for Silicon Valley. And it's been a very, very interesting year, I would say, with AI, right? So San Francisco has had a huge, huge improvement with the AI boom, and that also affects Silicon Valley as well. So San Francisco specifically was struggling for a long time and took a long time to recover from COVID, but now things have definitely shifted. But we're mainly going to focus today on Santa Clara County and looking into the usual stats of the median price, sales volume, number of active homes available for sale, number of homes pending which are sold, the sales to list price ratio, the dollar per square foot, the months of inventory, and the days on market. And at the very end, I'll break down some geographic areas as well. So like the area around Sanford to combine to like Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills, Atherton, Woodside, Menlo Park as a group, right? And see how those are doing and comparing the different price points as well, because there's some interesting data there. But first, let's look at overall Santa Clara County. I'm going to share my screen here. So here we have the chart of the median sales price and the sales volume, okay? So the COVID peak here of the total sales volume, right? And you can see the sales volume is cyclical, right? So like springtime is the busiest, and then there's less number of sales towards the end of the year, right? So we're here, right here, but even still, ours is up from last year, the number of sales volume. You can see the median price for the whole county here. We're looking at $1.9 million for a single family home median sales price in Santa Clara County with a sales volume of 1.3 billion. And it's good to compare that to last year, right, of 1.6, and it's about the same, right? So we had a little bit of a correction. But keep in mind, this is county-wide data, and we'll dive deep into Los Altos specifically, and we can compare those numbers. So now let's look at number of active and number of pending, which are sold for the last 3 years for the whole county, Santa Clara County. So you can see here, the green line is number of active, and the blue line is number that got in contract, right? So we can see the cyclical nature of this. So the most number active was summer of 2022 in the last 3 years. And here we have a little bit uptick from last year, right, on number of active. So look in here, comparing 741 active to 662, and number that got into contract of 505 for 2025 to 575 for 2024. And if we go back to 2023, we're at 510 and 747, right? So pretty stable on the county side. And now let's look at the sales price to list price ratio and the dollar per square foot, right? That's always interesting to look at. Here we go. So overall for the county is 103.6%. So majority of homes are selling over asking, and the median price per square foot for the whole county is $1,175. So let's compare that to last year. It's about similar, $1,172, and a little bit slower on the overbidding, right? From last year was 105, this year is 103.6, and now let's look at the year before, 103.3 and 1,096 per square foot. So we can see an appreciation, right, from $1,096 per square foot in 2023. We're now at $1,175. And the last one we'll look at for the whole county is months of inventory and days on market. And then we'll dive deep into specific city, in this case, Los Altos, after we're done with the whole Santa Clara County. So here we go. Let's look at the chart here, months of inventory in green, right? So we're less than a month and a half of inventory, and days to sell is quite fast. We're at 12, right? So there was a little bit of an increase in days on market, months of inventory towards the end of 2023, but even with this year, right, it's still selling quite fast, right? Most homes. So we're looking at only 1.3 months of inventory with the median days on market of 12, right, which is extremely fast if you compare it to other areas, right? Silicon Valley has always moved quite fast. So now let's look at Los Altos in particular. So let's start with median sales price and sales volume for the city of Los Altos. For the last 3 years. Right, so we've definitely sold more this year, as you can see in volume, compared to previous years, right? So let's see here in the summer, $200 million, right, compared to last summer of only $113 million, right? So this month, not too much, only $100 million, but let's look at the median sales price of 4.6 to from 4.4, 4.5, and going back the year before is 4.2, right? So quite an increase in median sales price, and you can see it has definitely slowed down from the beginning of the year, right? So February was almost 6 million median sales price per house. Now let's look at the sales price to list price ratio and a dollar per square foot in Los Altos. Right, so dollar per square foot, just under 2,000, and you can see here, compared to the county of 103%, Los Altos is 107%, right? Let's look back to last year. It's a little bit higher this year than last year, 106.9, and the median price per square foot was 1,800. All right, so we can look at the chart as well. It's in the end of 2023, it actually dropped below 100%, right? You can see here the green line for the sales price to list price ratio, but since then it's just been up, right? And you can see this big peak here at the beginning of the year, right? So now let's look at some cool charts that I got from Dave Walsh, the former president of the California Association of Realtors. So we're going to look here at what he calls the Stanford Circle residential market, and this accompanies some cities around Stanford. I'll list them off again as I did at the beginning of the presentation. We're talking about Palo Alto, Los Altos Hills, Atherton, Woodside, Portola Valley, and Menlo Park, right? And so the interesting thing to look at on this is under $2 million, right? The average days on market is 36. But for 2 million to 3 million, 3 million to 5 million, and 5 million to 7.5, things we're moving extremely fast, much faster, right? And you look at the supply of inventory, significantly less, right? So at the high end, only 1.4 months of inventory and 1.6 months of inventory for the higher end. And looking at the overbidding, right, we're at 105% and 104% compared to the under 2 million price point, which is under 100%, right? And so this is part of the AI boom, right, and the huge appreciation in stocks, the stock market this year really pushed the high end up. So we can see that also take place if you look overall at Santa Clara County once we break it down per price point, right? So under $1 million, which is in our area primarily condos, it is 3.2 months of inventory with an average day on market of 34. But once we go up to the higher and higher end, we have less inventory, 1.3 months at the $3 to $5 million range, and only 19 days on market. And the other thing to look at is the average sales price to list price ratio, right? So under $1 million, that means things are selling over asking, but over in the high end, they're selling over asking, right? So at the high end, 106% over asking. So that's kind of a quick year-end review of our market. I'd say things are quite healthy. Inventory is a little bit tight right now, right, as we see towards the holidays coming into Christmas. And once the new year starts, we expect to increase some of the inventory. Condos and townhouses have been a little bit slower this year compared to single families. But overall, I think it's still a good market for both buyers and sellers, and there's definitely opportunities out there for those that want to take advantage. So if you have any questions, please reach out, and if you want any stats on a specific city or area, also let us know, and have an awesome rest of your day.